on the camera. Mics are hot. Hello. You're good.
Well,
Give your spiel.
isn't that just special? Just go get into a fight at Waffle House. But I ain't got no Waffle House in this state.
So welcome everybody.
That's 3 things that this state needs. Waffle House,
Yes.
Buc-ee's, and freaking Wawa.
We'll never get a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, there's nowhere really to put a good Buc-ee's here. Maybe in Ellensburg or Yakima, like on I-5 or I-90 going back and forth out there. But, yeah. No, when I was up at the home store, Wawa's, man, we need Wawa.
Wawa's good.
We need Wawa in this state. Friggin' get your shit together, Washington. Get some Wawa. And we actually went on a pilgrimage to get me some Fuddruckers, and every time we found a Fuddruckers, it was closed for renovations. I was going to cry. It was horrible.
Like, how many Fuddruckers?
2. We drove to 2.
They're 2 different ones? Maybe?
2 different ones in 2 different states.
Oh, I was going to say.
On the way back from Florida to PA when I was with Andrew.
Maybe it was a franchise, and they were down for a renovation. What up?
Denny's is not Waffle House.
Denny, I think you're less likely to get into a fight at Waffle House than you are Denny's.
Depends on the Denny's.
Every Denny's I've been to has been sus.
Because, like the Denny's that Alex and I used to hang out at as teenagers, because we were those teenagers that would sit in the smoking section and drink coffee and Coca-Cola all night after closing down the pool hall across the street. This is when we were in high school. And I had this much facial hair, so I didn't get carded when I was buying us cigarettes. Haha, statute of limitations doesn't exist.
Oh my God.
But no, we hung out at the Denny's so much that the night crew, we would go to their houses after they get off shift at 3 o'clock in the morning and hang out. And then we started drinking beer with them. Crazy. That
doesn't surprise me. Do you want to do the spiel or do you want to do the spiel? Gamers7pnw.com. Hello,
Gamers7pnw.com. Go there. Now. Do this stuff. Right? Get in the TikTokies. Follow us on the social medias. Like and subscribe.
Necron
Bumper.
Thank you for the biddies, Necron tier. Hell yeah. Appreciate it. Let's do this.
Hello, Robert McDonald 551, our only TikTok viewer at the moment. Right. We'd hang at Del Taco and watch all the drunk people coming at 2 a.m. Saw a dude get his ear bitten off.
What?
Like the whole thing or just like the top part or the lobe.
Oh my God.
Like, that's hilarious.
Was this? Yeah. This must have been probably post-Tyson.
Oh probably. See, Sherry's around here is like high-end. It's like Denny's and then Sherry's. And I hated going to Sherry's because all they serve is Pepsi. And I'm a Coke man.
Sherry's is Sherry's PNW only?
I've never seen a Sherry's outside of the Pacific Northwest.
So Sherry's is PNW Bob Evans.
We have Bob Evanses around here sporadically.
Do you? They are all over the South.
Oh yeah, I know they're all over the South. But Bob Evans, there used to be one in Federal Way, and it just didn't do well, and it closed.
Yeah.
I've seen them on the East Coast too.
Yep.
But, I mean, there ain't nothing like greasy Waffle House waffles.
Good. That's true.
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's really nice. Oh, high-end ghetto.
They make their own pies. That's true.
They do have nice pies. I'll hand it to them. Like, I got a Marionberry pie? It's like, hell yeah, that's good.
We ain't cool enough to get a Waffle House. You're right. This state ain't cool enough to get a Waffle House.
I think also, like, maybe some less lax labor laws up here in comparison to the South is a large part of the reason.
Oh, what do you mean, Pete?
Yeah, we won't go there, but yeah. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us.
So, thanks for hearing the beginning rant. So, we're going to talk about a little bit of Warhammer Community Day and some of the Magic leaks that were yesterday for Lord of the Rings. Even one with Elijah Wood on the actual MTG TikTok page, like scrolling through the cards going, wow! But he doesn't say One whole character. Does not say Legolas at all.
Oh.
And everybody's like, why isn't he talking about Legolas? And some people are like, maybe he doesn't know who Legolas is.
Maybe there's beef.
I don't know.
Maybe he thought it was too pro legs, not enough arms.
Right? If you got a Waffle House, will we then have a Waffle House threat assessment pie chart? Yes. So, this is actually a thing. FEMA uses Waffle Houses as a gauge to see how bad things are actually when it comes to natural disasters. They will call the local Waffle House, and if it's open, it's not as bad as they think. I think it's hilarious that they do that.
It's a thing. A lot of my childhood was driving around the South for various reasons. Ducking into a Waffle House during a tornado, that's a thing. Like, you'd be driving along the road, be like, oh, we got to get somewhere. There's tornadoes. And then you'd see the parking lot just full of cars and people like just huddling in there. It's like, oh, when's it going to be done? Yep.
Where's my damn waffle?
You want something to eat? No, I'm good. Yeah, it's fine. They know.
Right.
So, yes.
So yeah. So Lord of the Rings stuff.
Go.
So pre-release is June 16th. If you have signed up for pre-orders, please come in to prepay. It guarantees you your stock day of release. If you do not pay or pick it up on day of release, I will sell it.
There's going to be people that want it.
Because everybody wants to pull that damn One Ring.
Can you blame them?
No, I cannot blame them. It's already, rumors are already saying people are online saying they'll pay $500K plus for this thing.
That's low. That seems low.
It does seem low, but that's where the bidding starts. So and I personally think one of two things is going to happen. Somebody who just literally drops tens of thousands of dollars in cases of collector boosters is going to pull it. Or it's going to be freaking some 9-year-old freaking little Johnny Jr., daddy gave him a shiny thing of Lord of the Rings, and he puts it in his pocket and forgets about it, and mom washes his pants, and all of a sudden $500,000 goes out the damn window.
As would be appropriate for being the One Ring.
Right?
So, yeah. I'm kind of pulling for the kid in that situation, although I would love for our store to pull it. I told Martin and Tanya that they have to do a fusion dance.
Right.
To combine their pull powers.
Oh, yeah. I told employees if they pull that, they can use that to become a partner in the company. I will take that card. I will fly down to the grading company in Florida, and I will handcuff that sumbitch and briefcase to my hand. And when I go through security, I'll be like, you gotta take that off. No. Nope.
Just go through the scanner with the thing on the belt.
Right. And then when I hand it to the grading company, I'm calling Post Malone's publicist first. Like, I got to figure out what agency he's with, and I'll be like, hey, somebody needs to get a hold of his agent. I got the One Ring. He's getting the first bid. Let's go. Like, do a whole thing with him walking through the door with a big old cardboard check made out to Heaven PNW for like $500,000. How hilarious would that be?
That'd be great.
How mad would the rest of the franchises be? So mad.
Maybe. I don't know. It's good. Good publicity.
Right.
Maybe they wouldn't be mad. I don't know.
I mean, rising tides raises all the boats.
True.
But I mean, we were open first.
True. Then I would expect calls to be like, hey, we need to replace our gaming rigs.
Right.
You guys help? But yes. So, was there any card in particular that like really got you? Because I know we looked at a few of them.
I think the whole having 7 ring wraiths in a deck is kind of neat.
Yeah, it's neat.
And then having the Witch King.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There was a saga with 7 stages.
Yeah, what the heck? The discussion of the Ents, it's a saga that has 7 steps, and it's every step you just pick a new creature type, and when that creature comes out, it gets a 1/1 counter on it, and you just move to the next one, and you have to pick a different creature each time.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't even think I have 7 creature types in my big green stupid deck, which is just full of big giant green creatures because of the green dominus.
It really is a really specific thing.
Right.
But then do you get, if you use a card that like can morph into whatever creature type?
Ooh, yeah. Put Morphon in your deck, and
Yeah.
then just start stacking 1/1s on Morphon because he's all creature types.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody actually talking in the TikTok chat? Because all I see is people entering, but no interaction.
No. That's normal. They'll file in and then they'll leave. All good. Nightmare to record this.
Right?
Oh.
Because why? Because I'm all over the place, or because there's so many chats? Or yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, TikTok's kind of fickle sometimes,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's all good.
I know Calvin is excited that there's a lot of orcs because he wants to build that orc deck. And I kind of want to build an orc deck because I bought the orc secret lair from Warhammer.
Yes.
And so I have Gazgul Thrakan and he's going to be, the war boss.
I have those too. Ooh.
And a lot of the orc cards are either red or red black, and they're like all orcs and goblins.
Oh.
Are getting some bonuses, and I'm
Okay.
like, maybe I make a second goblin orc deck that's red black.
Okay. Okay. Well, any more? Do you want to give any more thoughts on the Lord of the Rings, or you just want to go into?
I mean, I know a lot of people are excited about it. I'm just not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I tried reading the books. Like, it's like watching paint dry.
There's a lot of walking.
Right. I understand the importance that Tolkien has had on fantasy, high fantasy and science fiction, and I can admit that he is a great writer. But to me, he's like the Beatles. I don't care. Because I don't care about the Beatles.
Okay.
Like, everybody's like, oh, the Beatles. Like, I understand the impact that the Beatles had on rock and roll.
Yeah.
And music as a genre overall. I get that. It's not my cup of tea.
Just not your thing.
Not my thing. I'd rather
appreciate
listen to Iron Butterfly and Steppenwolf.
Yeah, you appreciate what's here now, but going back, you're like, wow, this is a little dated.
I'm just now starting to appreciate Led Zeppelin, which had a whole album about the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
The whole album.
Yep. Led Zeppelin 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. I mean, I hated Led Zeppelin because I was so punk rock in high school that I hated hippies, and I refused to listen to anything that hippies listened to, and just hated it.
That is through and through you.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't surprise me to hear that.
Yeah. But I'm mellowing out my old age.
I was going to say, you've softened just in the last, like, year and a half that I've known you. Your hair. You're getting compliments on your hair.
Yes, I see that. Thank you, Jess.
You just read The Hobbit. It's pretty much the same thing and nice and condensed. The Hobbit is a great book to read.
The Hobbit was easier to read than the Lord of the Rings books. Yeah. Period. And, like, my wife is horny on Front Street for Tolkien. Like, I have purchased her so many pieces of art based around Tolkien and The Hobbit that the spare bedroom is just full of them. We call it the Hobbit room.
Okay.
And that guy who makes those, he's a printmaker, and every time I get in trouble with her, I just go buy one of his pieces, and she forgives me.
So that's your version of flowers?
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, she likes flowers too, but when I really fuck up, I spend $400 on art.
Giving away the goose here.
Oh, she knows it. She knows exactly why I bought it. It's either her birthday or I got in trouble.
So yeah, the Hobbit is definitely like a more condensed version of that universe. I love The Hobbit. I tried to read Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Taylor loves it. I read the first 150 pages, and most of it's walking. Like, no shade. I know that's the pace because it's a giant trilogy.
Yeah.
But after 150 pages, this was way back when. I was like, I kind of want to just read other stuff.
Right.
But I can barely read because of the Kentucky educational system. That's a joke. I mean, I can read, but the patience part. Yeah.
I think they shot some dumb kids.
If I wasn't stuck in bed with a foot injury as a kid, I wouldn't have made it through Lord of the Rings. That's actually a pretty good point. I kind of wish I had a foot injury as a kid, so I would have read that. Weird to think of it that way.
Yeah, George said Dune is better. I tried to read Dune when I was 12, and my dad took the book from me and said no.
Oh.
He's like, you're not old enough for that yet.
Oh. Jeez.
And then 3 years later, the Sci-Fi Channel did that 6-part series, and then I ended up reading it right after that.
Right. I still need to read it, and I still need to watch it.
The movie's not bad.
What threw me off on watching the movie is the people who were like, it was so great. They're like, you need to watch it in a theater with wonderful sound because they indicated that it would be lost on me if I didn't have like perfect sound.
That's
like,
all pure garbage.
Yeah.
Because I had to watch it streaming in on HBO Max because all the theaters are closed because of COVID. Yeah. And it kept, because so many people were watching it that weekend because it was the release weekend, that I kept getting booted out of the movie. And HBO Max, the app on the TV, would crash because so many people were streaming it at one time.
Damn.
And it took me, my wife and I, like 5 hours to finish that movie that day.
Holy crap.
Because we would get like a half an hour in, and then it would crash and go down for 20 to 45 minutes, and then we'd get back in. And it was just, I was getting frustrated. I need to go rewatch it without it crashing.
See, I wouldn't be able to do that. I've got this thing, and I've gotten better about it recently, but movies kind of have one chance with me. Like if something interrupts a film and I have to get up and go take care of something, movie's ruined for me. And that's really unfortunate because my brother's a huge movie buff, and he's like, have you watched this and this? I'm like, I'm not going to dedicate the 2.5 hours because I know an interruption's going to happen. And then the film experience is just ruined for me. Like it's a one lengthy watch type of thing. But I've gotten better about it. Finding Netflix has helped because finding random weird films. But,
I don't know who people are. They're calling me. Okay.
Stop calling.
I know. I'm on stream. Stop calling me.
God.
Tina, eat your food.
My face up in the camera.
Right.
Adjust. Yeah. So, you want to talk community day before you get started?
Community day. It's a Saturday, right? So come in. We're gonna have things on sale. For every $10, you get a raffle ticket for purchases where you have some good stuff, like an entire set of the Masters of the Universe board game, the core box, and all three expansions.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap! That's a lot of board games.
Yes, that game looks super fun, and I ordered a copy for the store so I can start learning how to play it.
Right.
Also, I'm hoping Zombicide shows up in time too, because I ordered everything for Zombicide 2.0, which I kickstarted, and I have all of it at home. And then all the expansion shows up, and there's no core box, and I'm like, the heck?
I remember that. It showed up, and you had it lined out all neat on the table.
Yeah.
And I was like, Phil, these all say expansion.
And then I look, and I call my rep, and she was like, I don't know how, but it fell off, and it didn't get paid for. And I was like, cool.
For those of you who don't know, Phil is the operations manager here at the store and does it. What you see up front and everything, Phil is in charge of.
Making sure that it gets there.
Phil makes it happen. Phil has a lot of stuff that he does on the daily and on the reg. And thank you.
Yeah, you should see my email. It's all nice and neat with each vendor, and I have rules for all of the messages to go to those boxes so my inbox doesn't have 10,000 messages every day.
Okay. So,
it's nuts.
So you're like, I don't want to say OCD, but like your obsession with organization extends digitally into your email.
Yeah.
That's great.
It has to, otherwise I'm going to drown.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, why did Phil cut all of his hair off and throw the laptop in the pond and he's out front smoking crack?
Minus the crack.
Right.
Smoke crack.
I would never actually smoke crack. That's weird.
It's weird. That's the reason.
That's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Okay. So let's...
all right. For the rest of Community Day.
Yeah.
Community Day. Right. So every $10 gets you a raffle ticket, or you can buy raffle tickets for $5 a piece. We're going to give Boba Happy Hour all day. We're going to reveal the new membership system. I'm going to have it. It's going to make more sense and be worth more to people who invest into it. And we're going to talk about the membership drive that we're using this for and the goals of that, so we can use that to do some improvements in the store that people have been asking about. So we will be revealing that on Saturday.
Yep.
But are your digital photos organized Depends on the photos.
Don't open the taxes 97 folder.
Taxes 97. So, like, if you look at the laptop that I do all the ordering on, which, hey, I'm starting a Rifts campaign in the store. Zero session is Monday the 5th. I already got Liv and Gator Pete sitting down. I have everything ready for that campaign and a slideshow on how to introduce Rifts to a new player that I built.
If I could have you explain any game to people, I'd be so happy. Like, seeing you with a whiteboard in Warhammer, granted, it doesn't have to be so complicated, and you do break things down really, really well. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, you can thank the United States Army for that.
Hey. I will say, as far as like the new membership system, and I don't want to give away anything on here. I've looked at it with you guys, and objectively, if I were, well, I am a customer, I buy stuff here all the time. Objectively, it's a really good value, and I'm really happy with the way that it's gone and what we have planned out for people. So it'll be worth your money.
It'll be worth the time and the effort, because honestly, what we have currently right now, I think, is a little bit dry. And then Alex and I petitioned franchise and be like, hey, can we wiggle around with this a little bit and do some stuff to see if we can get some more interaction with the community and make it a tiered system, because not everybody who comes to the store needs the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I'll just give away one part of it. Like, one of them is specifically geared towards our esports community, and it's paying one fee for the year, and it waives their door every time they come in for an esports tournament. The only thing they got to pay for is the pot. Yep. Right. And if you are one of our Smash players who's in here 2 to 3 times a month, it's going to save you money in the long run.
It will. And that's like, that's a part of it that I found really compelling, is I was like, it doesn't just waive the money, like it actually ends up, if you're a frequent player, like not even frequent, semi-frequent, if you just come to the events, like it ends up saving you money. So cool.
I'm hoping some of those Smash people start coming to Street Fighter night. So for those of you who don't know, Street Fighter 6 premieres this Friday. We got it up on start.gg. We've got about, when I checked yesterday, we had 12 participants already. And that's going to be on the opposite Fridays of Smash going forward, because nice. I really think that we can get that popping off as well. So myself and Pete and Masaki are going to be the ones you're going to be seeing around that a lot.
Yes.
I'm not going to play because I'm going to get my ass whooped. Like, I ain't even going to lie. Like, freaking homies coming in with hits, with whole stick setups. I'm like,
My hands and brain don't work in this format. This format.
Yes, this format, yes. And I have to reprogram it. It's light punch, medium punch, strong kick. I never use these up here because weak kick is for weak people. And it's just like Ryu or Ken, and I'm a Hadouken in or freaking tops off and Hadouken kicking it everywhere.
You're purist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anything else for Community Day?
Please come out. Support this is for us, to you. We're trying to give back to you, our community, whom we love so much. Yeah. And it's starting off summer. I know everybody's been outdoors and not in the store because it's been really nice out and not boiling hot.
Yet.
I got bills. Not gonna lie. I went outside too. It's great.
Dr. Nero, the hell is outdoors?
What the hell is outdoors? Yeah, right?
Welcome
yeah, but once that temperature hits 2 digits with a 9 in front of it, everybody's like, outside's stupid.
It's not supposed to be bad up here. Well,
or those 4 days a year where it hits hundreds. Remember, we've got great AC.
We do have air conditioning here. So yeah,
and cold beverages.
Well, you wanna talk about the pièce de résistance here?
So 10th edition stuff, man, so many leaks, and everybody's like, why don't you know when the release date for the box is? Ask your rep. Man, my rep doesn't know jack squat. You know when my rep finds out? When she can sell me the new box? When it's released for going up on pre-order next Sunday on the community website for Warhammer Community, right? If you guys and gals and Smizmars haven't been paying attention, GW is leakier than a boat made of Swiss cheese.
love it.
Right?
Can you ask your rep what they think about Lord of the Rings?
Which rep? Because GW sells the Lord of the Rings miniature game. Nobody plays it, but they've got the rights for it.
Which is a shame because the models are really cool.
Yeah, the models do look pretty cool.
Yeah, every time I see GW's great at staging for photos. I'll give them that. And like they show off those miniatures, and I'm just like, man, they look so good. I want some. I'll probably end up getting some eventually just to have for my collection and display.
Some of them are actually Forge World resin.
Wow.
A lot of them.
Wow.
And like, there's a whole way of playing it, and there is a whole game to play. I just never bothered to learn.
Right.
It's just like the only 3 things I know how to play from Games Workshop are all 40K related. Either 40K, Kill Team, or Necromunda.
Kill Team.
Which actually would love if Necromunda started happening here too.
I've heard some people interested in it.
So for those of you who don't know, Necromunda is you're in the hive city of Necromunda, and you live on the bottom floor where all the filth is, and you run a gang who is fighting other gangs for resources, and then your models, your characters, will level up and gain extra abilities, and there is a chance based off of your win ratio that you like, because like you start off with really crappy guns, and all of a sudden you can have a good combat, and then you have to roll on a table to see what kinds of stuff is available at the bazaar.
Okay.
And every once in a while I'd be like, oh my god, a plasma gun. Yes. But that doesn't happen often.
Wow. Like I've heard Necromunda, right? I didn't know it sort of worked like an RPG.
Yeah, so you can run Kill Team the same way. And you can run 40K the same way, where it's RPG-esque. Yeah. In 40K, it's Crusade mode, and your units level up and gain extra abilities. But it gets really complicated because, you have a 2,000-point army, and everything is like level 2 to 5.
Yeah.
And they have their normal abilities plus all these other abilities, and everybody's like pulling out their hair trying to keep track of all this stuff.
Sounds like work. No.
It is work.
No. 95% of the floor is in a hive city?
Yes. So what a hive city is, it's basically, think of Coruscant from Star Wars.
Right.
That is a hive world, right? But Coruscant's pretty and well maintained. It's 40K. Nobody gives a shit about the environment or human habitation or health. It's just pump out them tank parts. Pump out them tank parts. Pump out them las guns. Get them bolter shells out. Mechanicus doesn't care. Mechanicus is like, oh, you got cancer and your arm's falling off? Here's a bionic arm. Get back to work. Oh, wait, you can't work anymore? Okay, we're going to turn you into a servitor, which is a lobotomized human that they slap robot parts on because making robots is illegal.
Lore.
Right?
The lore. Okay, so now you've piqued my interest on Necromunda. Dang it.
Selenized Eskimos.
You.
Nah.
So 10th edition though.
So 10th edition.
10th edition.
I haven't watched Auspex Tactics rules or lore leak, that video that he posted this morning, but the majority of this set, because it's the box set is Leviathan, so it's the 4th Tyrannic War. So this is the 4th major incursion of Tyranids into the Imperium after that giant rift cut the galaxy in twain. Mm-hmm. So not only are we dealing with demons and orcs and space elves and space bugs, now we're dealing with even more space bugs. Right? Oh. That's why the new Leviathan box is full of new Tyranid models, because some of them just needed a range refresh.
Yeah.
But in the lore, they've evolved. Because Tyranids are constantly evolving to deal with the threat to food.
Okay.
They want a nom-nom, and you're like, uh-uh. And then all of a sudden, Space Marines are like, pew-pew. And then the bugs are like, well, we got to make something new to deal with these jackasses because we're still hungry.
Okay.
So there's a lot of new Tyranid monsters coming down the pipe, and that's what most of what the Leviathan box is a bunch of new Nid models. that look amazing.
Yeah.
And if I start a knit army, my wife is probably going to crucify me. So
you have a lot of.
I do have a lot of stuff.
So much.
Yeah, like, cause people who came over to my house for food, never been in my house before. I was like, this is where I sit and do Warhammer stuff, and they're like, Jesus Christ on a jump rope, what is down here? And I was like, all kinds of things.
I haven't been. Actually, I didn't go down there, but the first time I went to your house, I think you all had, it was more organized, and I can't imagine. This was right after the store opened. And I think you have obtained more things since then, and
I mean, kind of,
yeah.
But still, there's like, I have an entire terrain set that I haven't put together that I kickstarted.
Yeah.
That will fill the big table, like legit. Like I could build a city out of it, and then I have I have the pop-up terrain that's out there that I kickstarted that nobody uses, and then I have another set of cardboard terrain around here somewhere that I just haven't put together that is equivalent scale, but also could be used for Mech Warrior or Battletech.
Fair.
Because it looks, depending on the size of the model, it either looks like a moderate-sized cityscape or an oversized cityscape if you put the battle mechs next to it.
Okay.
So it could work for both. Because I was like, it's COVID, I'm bored, let's kickstart things.
There you go. I think that's most
And then
people.
they all started showing up. Got a lot of stuff.
Now that people are out of quarantine, stuff's starting to show up. They're like,
Just like all of Zombicide 2.0. Like I have the entire, like things you cannot buy from CMON because it was Kickstarter exclusives. So like one of them is a box of the last 7 presidents.
Yeah.
As playable models, including Captain Cheeto. But everybody's like, burn the model. I'm like, why? I don't give a shit. It's just there. One of my favorite models is actually the Queen of England with a minigun. It's hilarious looking.
Rip.
Yeah, looks cool. So anyway, 4th Tyrannic War is the foundation of what's going on with 10th edition to move the lore forward. It's going to be interesting to see what they do now that the Lionel Johnson is back.
Yeah.
So he's up and moving around, and at the end of his book, which I read immediately as soon as it came out, I was like, and it was read. He found the Blood Angels.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, you're not even our Primarch, but Jesus.
Nice, respectfully.
Right? And they were helping him try to find the Dark Angels bastion called the Rock. So there's going to be a lot of talkings to when the Lion gets to the Rock.
So there's a lot of lore brought about then, like a lot of lore changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So basically what happens in the Lion book is, like, remember when we were talking about the Horus Heresy all those moons ago?
Yep.
Many moons ago, in a time before time. Hooty hoo. We were talking about how that legion had a civil war because a third of them sided with Luther, and it tore the planet apart. And the piece of the planet that's left over is where they've turned it into a flying fortress in space, and that's called the Rock. But it also, there was a warp storm that took all of the Dark Angels that were on Korriban, or not Korriban, what was it called? Korriban, that's Star Wars. Things are bleeding over. Anyway, many moons ago was something millennial. So all of the rebelling Dark Angels, and some of them weren't even rebelling. They didn't even know what was going on. Like the line soldiers, they were just like, leadership's all screwed up. I'm not about fighting against Dad. And all of a sudden, Dad just teleports in the middle of a group of dudes and just starts going nuts, cutting everybody in half with a giant ass sword. And he didn't take the time to stop and figure it out. He just started just murking people.
Lack of communication.
Yeah, a lot of lack of communication in 40K.
That is the essence of 40K and a lot of the problems. Yes.
Simba!
If he's a lion angel, does that make him a sphinx?
Nah.
Oscar.
So in the Lion novel of him waking up, so he wasn't like, he's old.
Yeah.
Like, he was asleep that whole 10,000 years. Gilliman was in a stasis cube where he was removed from the time stream and didn't age. The Lion is legit. Like, he aged 10,000 years while he was asleep.
Okay.
And he starts running into what they're referred to as the Fallen. Those are the ones who were on the planet when the Lion showed back up, and the current Dark Angels are hunting them down to bring them to justice, so to speak. And the current Dark Angels don't care if Schmecky was just a dumbass private when it happened. Brand new Space Marine, just got done with all the surgeries, assigned his power armor, handed his bolt gun, and then the Lion shows up and starts murking folks. So he basically starts running into his sons that are considered the Fallen, but they never really fell to chaos. And they're kind of living on the outskirts of the Imperium, just trying to stay alive and hide from the wrath of the rest of the Dark Angels. Because the Dark Angels in all their successor chapters have a verbal agreement, like, you find the Fallen, you capture the Fallen and bring them back to the interrogator chaplains of the Dark Angels to torture.
Okay.
And kill, and eventually execute.
Okay.
But some of them, they get deposited, like in the novel, the first Fallen that the Lionel Johnson runs into, dude, like, what happened on the home world to him from his point in time happened 300 years ago to him, because the warp storm popped him out 300 years before the Great Rift happens. So he gets popped out, and like 150 years later, Cadia blows up and the Great Rift happens. And this guy's like, what year is it?
Okay.
So there's all kinds of the Fallen getting sprinkled across time and space from that warp storm. And then he runs into other members of the Fallen who popped out a few hundred years after the Horus Heresy on a planet and have been running around ducking the Dark Angels for 9 millennia.
Right.
Because Space Marines are effectively immortal until killed. Just like Primarchs. They've fallen all around the galaxy. I see what you did there.
So, all right. So what other new lore do we have in 10th edition?
Angeron can't be killed. He's a demon Primarch, and every time somebody banishes him, he's back in 8 months. Because 8 is the number of corn. 8 months. He comes back on the 8th month of the 8th week of the 8th, 8th month of the, or was it 8 years? It's a series of 8. It's like the 8th year of on the 8th month, on the 8th week, on the 8th hour of his demise. He just pops back into real space.
So instead of 666, it's 88888.
Yeah. 8. Yeah. So Korn's number is 8. Tzeentch is 5. Nurgle is 7. And Slanesh's number is 6.
Okay. Yeah, my brain... Anytime we have Warhammer discussions, my brain is a little melty.
Odious is like, Pete, your brain okay?
Well, so we've done, just a sidebar here, like we've done some lore streams, which we'd like to in the future once things simmer down.
Mm-hmm. So much new lore for me to read.
Yeah, we've done a lore on like factions and races and whatever, but he has so much Warhammer knowledge. He's an encyclopedia, to the point that if at any point, if people in the store are running a game, if they don't know, they'll stop and ask Phil, and Phil will walk over, and in 45 seconds they'll have their answer. He has so much Warhammer lore and knowledge that it's kind of like asking someone to explain a thorium reactor to a 5-year-old whenever he talks to me. So there's points where he gets in so deep that my brain does melt. It's crazy. Phil, you're amazing. There you go. You are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get wrecked, kid.
Get wrecked, kid. Oh, God. Yeah, no, it's incredible. It really is, and it's like
again, I've been reading these novels since I was 18, and I'm gonna be 42.
Right, and as much as I'm trying to keep up, it's again, I'm gonna make a 5-year-old comparison. It's like a 5-year-old chasing after Usain Bolt. He's just so out there that I'm like, I'm running as hard as I can. I'm like, God, you're now like 45 miles ahead of me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, they even retconned the Primarchs because originally Horus wasn't a Primarch.
Right.
And it wasn't Sanguinius that took the first blow. It was a fucking Imperial Guardsman named Lennius Pius. And then they retconned how Space Marines are done, and then they made the Primarchs and retconned the whole thing. Because the War Master, Horus, was originally just a really powerful general.
Right. Odious says he just watches YouTube lore videos. I've done that, and actually, one for beginners. I'm going to advertise somebody else's YouTube channel for a minute. Bricky, even though it's 2 hours, Bricky has an explanation of, like, I think it's 5 minutes per faction for all factions, and it's really, really good. But I would like to take it a step further with you. If we can wrangle your knowledge and do some like YouTube shorts and TikToks of like 60 seconds, give me the
There's a couple guys on TikTok who do that. Like Wes Hammer does them. I can't remember this other kid. Him and his friend are doing basically what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is we're just I'm the dude and you're the guy asking the questions going, where does this all sit in your brain? Like how does your brain store this?
Yes.
And he's just rattling off the same stuff that I do. And I'm like, we should hang out, drink beer.
Plastic space people, what up, Identico?
Plastic space people!
One thing I have learned whenever we do these lore discussions is, so there's a dynamic here, and I'm going to put the onus on me on this. Originally, I wanted to just have streams with you and be like, Phil, Tyranids, go. Or Phil, Orcs, go. And I like to have an sort of come at it from a standpoint of ignorance as a beginner, to be like, hey, just blow my mind. But for me, my brain can only, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Right.
And I found out, fortunately and unfortunately, that when we do these discussions, like I need to come in with a really narrow lore aspect that I need to discuss with you. Otherwise, covering the breadth of an entire civilization and faction, it starts to, because it's like Charlie Kelly's, yarn wall, Charlie Day's yarn wall.
Yeah.
So I really have to like take the yarn wall,
the beautiful mind thing,
and be like, show me this section of this section.
So that's guy in stream chat, Dr. Nero. Last time I asked someone to recommend 40K lore reading, they gave me a 5-page PDF of all the books I need to read.
Yes. That is true. And I think there is, that's 100%, that's it. And I think there is some content out there to be filled of like, you can't give somebody a 5-page PDF. That's intimidating and they'll never do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dr. Neuro is a very intelligent person. I love him. But dude also doesn't have time to read 5 pages.
Right, 5-page PDF of listing of all the books that you should read.
Yeah. So
it's like the Horus Heresies on, like, it's part 1 of 2 of the actual final battle on Earth. I finished reading 3 weeks ago. Part 2 is not out yet. But part 1, I think I was telling you this last time we talked on stream, it was just jump cuts. The whole chapters are just 3 pages of jump cuts of what's happening on the Earth to give you a picture of how fucking bonkers this war is.
Yes.
Like rows of crucified titans.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, titans are giant battle mechs that the Imperium of Man has made with their Martian allies, the Mechanicus, and the shortest ones are 40 meters tall, and the largest ones are about 250 meters tall.
Yeah.
Now imagine a 250 meter tall battle mech crucified.
750 feet, by the way.
And then imagine a field of them and it's written from the perspective of these guardsmen who are fleeing from one broken battle line to another to fall back, and they're falling back through a field of crucified titans. And they're my size. Like the guardsmen are, like 5'9" on average, 5'10" or whatever. And you're seeing dozens of crucified 750-foot tall robots that were on your side, but now are just scrap.
Right. Yeah. The scale of the lore and everything is just larger than life, both in physical scale and story scale. And Dr. Neuro said, all I wanted to look up was Adeptus Sororitas. So I think that there's a...
We've never done one. We should do a stream on about the Sororitas.
We should.
I have a Sisters of Battle Army, and they're interesting.
We should, and I think it would be good for, I'm sure there's somebody out there doing it, but clearly it's not a crowded space for it. I think there is room for us to say, like, if somebody's looking for Adeptus Sororitas, a book, like, to find, like, for each faction, whatever, a book that you think will be a starting place, because this is sort of like, and I know Dr. Neuro will understand what I'm saying, and you will too, walking into Warhammer as a beginner and saying, where do I begin, is almost like asking somebody who doesn't follow politics, saying, I want to learn about geopolitics. Where do I start? And it's like, bro.
Right. Yeah.
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 I think that's the most apt comparison I can
So, most of the Sororitas novels that are out have come out in the last 5 to 6 years, that were specifically written for and about Sororitas. And a couple of them, like, I've read a few of them, and one of them, I thought was a really interesting read. I would not recommend that book for somebody getting into the lore of Warhammer to begin with.
Yeah.
Because so much weird, chaosy shit happens in it that you're just like, it's actually considered one of the horror series. There is now a line of 40K books that they are specifically writing to be thriller horror-esque.
Okay.
Right, just like there's a bunch of books now that are and I actually, one of them I want to start reading. I can't remember the name of the two characters, but it's an Ogren and a Ratling and their misadventures.
That sounds wonderful.
Right, because the Ogren, big and stupid, the Ratling, small, quick-witted, and always tricking his Ogren buddy into helping him do dumb shit. And they both have gone AWOL from the Imperial Guard.
And this is one book?
It's a series. There's like 3 of them now.
It's always a series.
Right.
It's always a series. Okay.
The books that have a lot of data or a lot of Sororitas stuff happening in them, usually a lot of books with the Inquisition, because the Inquisition will use the Sororitas. Some sub-factions of the Inquisition will use specifically Sisters of Battle and Stormtroopers. They will not go anywhere near Space Marines. They think that was the Emperor's biggest mistake, hence the Horus Heresy. And actually there is a small subgenre of the Inquisition trying to cure the Space Marine problem.
We have a great question here in chat from Dr. Neuro. Has anyone ever attempted to do a primer/omnibus on here is the basic stuff you need to know to understand the Warhammer universe? And while I would like to do that video, it is a lot of editing time. I'm going to actually refer you... Space Morons. I actually would refer you to the video that I watched, to Ricky's YouTube video. Now it is 2 parts, I think, and they're an hour each, which is a lot, but it does explain in 5 minutes each every faction in basic terms, like, you know.
So the question is, Dr. Neuro, are you asking like something to watch on YouTube, or like, are you asking for a small omnibus of books that somebody can read and get a good handle on, like the Warhammer worlds?
Like an anthology describing?
Right, because the two omnibuses I tell people to read, if you want to get a pretty solid understanding of the Warhammer universe as it currently is, and nothing to do with the Horus Heresy, or very little to do with the Horus Heresy, I always tell people, read the first 3 Eisenhorn books. Eisenhorn is a Inquisitor who does some stuff. And I don't want to really deep dive into it, but the first 3 Eisenhorn books are written from the perspective of that Inquisitor, and it deals a lot with the geopolitics and the infighting with the Imperium. Like, one of the Imperium's greatest enemies is the Imperium.
Yeah.
Because not only are they constantly fighting the Xenos threat and the demon threat, but they're fighting themselves over religious fuckery.
And that's the whole premise of really the Horus Heresy is infighting amongst humans.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest, one of the biggest stories in the Warhammer universe.
And then if you want to read a good one about Space Marines, I always say the Ragnar books, all 6 of them. They're now in 3-part omnibuses. It follows Ragnar Blackmane from the time that he was pulled off of the ice of Fenris as a 13-year-old boy, and then recruited into the Space Wolves, and then him going through their version of basic training, implantation, and then the misadventures as he is a Space Wolf but he's also a character, so he's not a typical Space Wolf. Right. He has things happen to them that are outside of the norm for what a normal Space Wolf would have happen to them.
Silent Kevin says Eisenhorn is what I always recommend a starting point for reading Warhammer, which is what you covered. Yes. Odious says, and I agree, Luton 9 does really high quality videos and has a few beginner videos. I've seen quite a few of those in combination with Bricky, and I think Luton does really great at isolating specific things. And as you find specific things or look into a specific faction that you think you might be interested in, you'll kind of catch it by osmosis through the story too. But yeah, what do we have? What else?
Silent Kevin, I haven't read any of the Cathas Kane books. Those were actually written in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I was busy reading stuff about Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, so I haven't really read a lot of the guard-focused books. I've read a couple of the Orc books. I've read a few of the Necron books. A lot of the new Necron books that are backfilling the lore have come out in the last 4 or 5 years.
All I know is I just don't want another here's 2 hours explaining video of Kingdom Hearts, and we still don't know what's going on. Good point. I think, well, let's go ahead and take the, I know we're talking about 10th edition, but this is actually, this is a pretty important topic, I think. So it's kind of a rampant problem in Warhammer because of how large the universe is, and like we talked about the yarn wall of, let's call it scope creep.
Right.
Of the lore, because everything is intertwined.
Yeah. I mean, Star Wars had the same problem before Disney took it over.
Yep.
I have read so many Star Wars novels that are no longer canon.
Correct. And I think there is one thing that's got me into it, because if you get into, let's say, this is how I did it, and again, still a baby, because I need to loosely understand the lore before I start getting into all the stuff human done, because everything written is, I'll say that caveat, blah, 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 is kind of human centric, written from human point of view. What got me to start kind of understanding was reading up about the Xenos races. Like, I like orcs a lot.
Orcs are hilarious.
Orcs are hilarious, but
they're the comedy relief of the entire game.
But they do interact with humans a bit, and you can kind of catch like the timeline and what's going on with the humans and the other races, and the same thing will happen if you go.
Oh yeah, that's why Gazgul has a hate boner for Angron. Yeah, because Angron killed my favorite Ilmi.
Yes, he is a favorite human.
He has a favorite human, and that is Commissar Yarrick, who they call Baelai, who has a orc power claw that he ripped off of an orc, that the orc ripped his arm off.
Yes.
So he killed that orc and ripped the power claw off, and then walked up to an Adeptus Mechanicus guy and said, "Make this work on me." And they're like, "That's tech heresy." So the Commissar pulled his gun out, shot that guy in the face, picked the claw up, and went to the next Mechanicus guy and said, "Put this on me and make it work." And that guy went, "Yes, sir."
Yes, sir. First book, Kevin read was Blood for the Blood God. I've still got a copy I bought new when it came out years back. I don't know if Kevin can hear us, but would you say that's a good primer?
Was that the Blood for the Blood God fantasy novel?
starting Warhammer was Warhammer Fantasy books. Then I found 40K.
But I know there's another one called Blood for the Blood God, and it's about Karn the Betrayer, who is a world eater.
By C.L. Werner. Okay. You would know.
I don't remember who wrote that one. I think I have that book somewhere. I have so many 40K books.
Another thought I had, because we just covered this a few weeks ago, is Western comics versus manga. And I promise I'm going to link this up. Manga is now more popular than traditional Western comics.
That's because traditional Western comics put out shit.
Well,
I said it. I said it.
So one of the things that I saw, aside from the stories not being quite as good in people's minds, but one thing that got me into manga over comics. Comics are similar to Warhammer, and I think this is probably like Western IPs and storytelling, dispersed. You read this comic, if you read the other 7 comic series surrounding it, you get it.
Right.
That story becomes so much more impactful for you, whereas manga is a single story told in that paperback. It's self-contained, and you can do it.
Yeah.
And Warhammer kind of follows that same thing as Western comics of it's so dispersed that getting it all and getting the full.
You could read. There are multiple omnibuses about various factions that you could read those omnibuses that are between 2 and 4 novels and crammed into one book, and understand the storyline around that. So like one of my favorite omnibuses is the Night Lords omnibus about Soul Hunter. Like you could read those 3 Night Lords novels and have a good understanding why the Night Lords are the way that they are, and how they begrudgingly view the Imperium.
Okay.
But you can walk into that series of those 3 books, and not know shit about Chaos Space Marines or specifically the Night Lords, and when you're done with it, you got it. All the data's right there.
Okay.
And there's another trilogy about the Word Bearers. It does the same thing, because the Word Bearers are basically evil space Catholics.
Okay.
They're extremely zealous, religious, and worship the Chaos Gods, and the way that their hierarchy is structured is very similar to the papal structure.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of symbolism in Warhammer.
And it's hilarious, and you don't need to know anything about the Word Bearers. You can read that, and it's self-contained. So I understand what you're saying when it's very dispersed, but it's dispersed into like pigeonholed subjects about specific factions.
Right.
I think the Horus Heresy is the closest thing that they have to spread out timeline knowledge. But everything that's not the Horus Heresy, you can usually pick up that book or series of books, read it, and have a good understanding about that part of the galaxy.
Okay, so you're saying it's not all the time. There are some self-contained that I'm sure would be enriched by.
I mean, before the Horus Heresy, everything was self-contained.
Okay.
All of the novel series were about one group or one specific character and their misadventures, like Cathis Cain or Ragnar or Soul Hunter, or in the Word Bearers novels I was just telling you about, it's about one guy trying to reach the rank of Dark Apostle and him clawing his way up through the ranks, through gaining favor with the Chaos Gods and then assassinating his enemies, because Chaos fights itself all the time.
Yes.
The Inquisitor novels are always centered around one guy or a series of guys, like Eisenhorn. There was another Inquisition omnibus that was written in the late 90s, and they've now kind of like, they try to shove that off to the side, because that person wrote some stuff into those novels that everybody was like, what?
I'm going to say something. Oh, go ahead, if you weren't done.
Oh, no, I was done.
I'm going to be a little mean here. So there's something I've noticed the more I get into Warhammer, and the more I've asked for, like, or hunted for lore. All right. People are hesitant to give lore. Sometimes I just need to know, like, why is the sun hot?
Right. Because hydrogen.
Because hydrogen, right? Why a kid's asking, why is the sun hot? Because it's made of fire.
Yeah.
There's so much more to that, yes. But essentially, it's made of fire.
Right.
Now, here's something I've noticed about Warhammer lore and people doling out Warhammer lore, is they are simultaneously the, well, actually crowd, but also
yeah.
slightly, not slightly, but are concerned about being corrected by the, well, actually crowd. Mm-hmm. And sometimes to get new people on board, you just need to be able to point and say, because it's made of fire.
Right. I get that. It's like, why did it happen? Because the Emperor of Mankind was an asshole and didn't communicate well.
Perfect. And
that's like 90% of the problem.
That's 90% of the problem. But see, that's
bad communication. Talk to your kids, folks.
There would be people that agree, they're like, yeah, that is the basics of it. And then sometimes people can't hesitate but to be like, but then let me, and that's, I don't know. I feel like that maybe we need to let the people that we're explaining it to, let them guide it and ask the follow-up question to it instead of being like, now let me tell you about such and such butt-face leader of the butt-face clan who betrayed the Nightwings and then stabbed the guy and they're made out of 9,000 years old and this. Like, no, I just needed to know that it was lack of community.
Yeah, and actually what's hilarious is in the one of the final books of the Horus Heresy, the Emperor's right-hand man, Malcador the Sigilate, is talking to Sanguinus and Rogel Dorn, and the Sigilate is going to his death. Like, he knows he's going to die because the Emperor's leaving the Golden Throne and it's keeping that warp portal shut, and Malcador is going to sit in his place and use his psychic powers to keep the portal shut long enough for the Emperor to go take care of business and give Horus a spanking. He knows there's no coming back from this. Like, it's such a huge commit that it burns his soul to cinders to the point where he is a perpetual. So when he dies, he can reincarnate. This destroys that ability in him.
Right.
Like, he knows he's going to die for the good of humanity. And he's talking to Sanguinius and Rogel Dorn, and he's like, yeah, your dad probably should have talked a little bit more about the dangers of the warp to you guys as his sons.
Yeah.
But we decided that the best way to handle this was through ignorance. And the Chaos Gods just got to you guys faster than we did. And Sanguinius and Rogel Dorn were like, the fuck? You talking? What? He's known this the entire time?
What?
And Malcador's like, your dad's like 60,000 years old, dude. He's got a lot of experience. He's like, I've been hanging out with your dad for the last 10 millennia. Because that's when he recruited me. And the Sigilate basically says he's tight-lipped and doesn't even tell me things sometimes, right, which is weird. And then he has a cadre of custodes specifically that the Emperor specifically brain dumps memories into, so he doesn't have to deal with them.
Okay.
Because he's so old and has done so much, it's hard for him to remember things, so he downloads his brain, portions of his memories, into other people to hold on to so he doesn't forget.
I feel like you need that at a certain point.
Right? Actually, what's hilarious is Heinlein discusses that in one of his books about Lazarus Long being 4,000 years old. And he's just like, I had to learn a new way to remember how to remember. What? Because we ran into the problem with the human brain running out of space.
Okay.
Does this make your head explode?
Yeah, that's a hell of a concept.
Yeah. No, Heinlein hypothesized that in the Lazarus Long books.
He's an interesting
in the
guy.
50s. Heinlein was fucked up. I love him to death.
I want to make sure that I kind of want to backtrack here just a little bit. Whenever when I'm saying what I said about the lore and lore dissemination,
yeah,
it's not to criticize people talking about lore. It's more of a standpoint of like, how do we get more new people into it? Because I think in our passion for it, sometimes we can do more harm than good and scare them away.
Yeah, because there's just so much.
Yeah, as far as people discussing it amongst one another who are educated on the topic and like just love the lore, no shade to you.
Yeah,
no shade to you at all.
Oh no, yeah, it is daunting to get, because like when I started playing in the hobby, the Horus Heresy was only mentioned in books slightly, and like it was enough to backfill Abaddon the Betrayers or Abaddon of the Spoilers history and backstory on why he is the now de facto leader of the Chaos Space Marines. Right, the Horus Heresy was not heavily written about in the 80s and 90s because they didn't know where to start, and they didn't even start writing those books until like 2005.
Right.
So it's been 18 years of Horus Heresy books being written.
What's up, Dog Dad? Sound like Kevin. I found when discussing lore, if someone gets annoyed, I just say, quote, homebrew, and they're instantly okay with mistakes. You know what? It's a good method.
Right.
Yeah, so part of the reason I want to bring up that beginner thing is because I know 10th edition is geared towards getting newer people in.
Yes, the gameplay with 10th edition is more and more streamlined. They're bringing some stuff from older editions back, like character models joining squads, and different meanings to weapon profiles. But overall, they're trying to make the game easier to play and easier for people to get into it. Because like back in 2nd and 3rd edition, it wasn't the whole strength versus toughness thing. It was, there was a freaking flow chart that you had to look at and go get to the strength of your weapon and go right until you hit the the toughness. So strength was X, toughness was Y. You had to find X and go to Y on the chart to figure out what roll the roll had to be to wound. Which a lot of people just had that memorized. Yeah. But now it's strength versus toughness. So if your strength's higher than your toughness, then you wound on this, or if it's this, but it was just, it was bonkers. The two things that I miss are templates, which there were flamer templates and blast templates, and you would lay them down, and then anything that was underneath or partially under the template was what got hit.
Is that not a thing anymore?
No.
Oh.
You just get hit. And then the blast rule is you get hit X amount of times based on X amount of dudes in your squad.
I kind of like the templates.
Well, the reason I really like the blast templates is because indirect fire, when you failed your hit, you rolled the scatter dice, and it was a D6 covered in arrows, and another D6 that was inches, but it wasn't 1 through 6. It was like 4 through 12 in increments of 2.
Okay.
So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, or was it 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12? And so let's say you're supposed to hit this squad right here. You fail your roll. You roll the scatter dice, and you measure from your intended target the direction that the arrow is pointing that many inches. Now, if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. Oh, well.
Yeah.
But sometimes what's over here is you.
Yeah.
And your rounds just landed on your guys.
That is a great way to simulate like accidental friendly fire and scatter. Huh. Easier is good. I'm in agreement. Yeah.
Yeah, easier is good. It's a lot easier to get into the hobby now than it was all of those years ago. Also, metal figurines were such a pain in the ass to deal with and put together, and shave down and paint, primer and paint, plastic has really made it better and cheaper.
I remember I tried, I think 2007 was when I bought my first box of Orcs. And it was just so, my brother and I tried to play, and we never played before. And we painted them, and then we're like, okay, how do we play this? And it was just, it was so much that
if you don't have somebody around that knows how to play to help you learn, it's a huge pain to get into.
Yeah, so
that's why I keep saying we're a very learning store. Yes. So the weekend of release, the only thing Alex and I are going to be doing, I'm not running a till. I'm not making mozzarella sticks in the back. I ain't making your goddamn boba. I'm going to be out there trying to figure out how to play this game so I can show you how to play this game with me.
Perfect. I mean, I'm down for that. If you want to learn how to play Warhammer, and like this is a plug, yes, but also we just want more people in the hobby. If you want to learn how to play Warhammer and you live in the Seattle area and you want a friendly store to do it, our store is a great place to do it. I feel like I can speak for a lot of people. I can speak for myself. There's so many people that are eager and patient with new players. And it's been a largely more wholesome experience than what I've had in the past with this game.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of places that are super toxic.
Yeah.
Was there a time when metal players were all pissed at plastic players? Probably, but at that time, I had gotten out of the hobby because I was 18 and broke and playing Magic and playing Warhammer. Yeah. And then I turned 19 and I joined the Army and had to get rid of all my crap. But I kept reading the books.
Hoping 10th edition doesn't nerf Necrons. I've got 132k point army of robot fells. Holy
that is a lot.
Shit.
I thought I had a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff.
Holy.
Silent Kevin, are you actually that guy on YouTube? His little kid goes, Necrons! And he's from the UK. You know who I'm talking about?
I think I met your Magic judge. Oh.
Judge Taylor? Yeah, Judge Taylor's a good
Judge
dude.
Taylor is a wholesome being that we need to protect with everything on the planet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Love Taylor.
But there probably were people pissed off. Some of the sculpts were really cool, and they just got rid of the last of the metal sculpts this year.
Oh, wow.
They finally discontinued some of them because they're either A, coming out in a new plastic form, or B, it's a character model and that person is dead because they'd written him out of the lore. Like Castellan Creed.
Yeah.
Right? His was a fine cast model, which was really crappy, less better than Forge World resin.
Yeah. And
his model is gone. He is dead, but his daughter has taken over the mantle of High Marshal of the Imperium, and her name is Ursula Creed. So they brought in a new character to replace the old one.
I remember Kevin now. I've seen Kevin in here.
Oh, okay,
Necrons. Yeah. Yes. Now that you've refreshed my memory on these, yes, Kevin. I hope you're doing well.
When did they switch from plastic to metal? The plastic stuff started coming out in like 98, 99.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a white plastic, then the gray plastic that they have now.
The stuff that I bought in 2007 was gray plastic. So they had definitely switched by then.
Yeah.
They weren't doing white plastic.
No, white plastic was for a very short period of time.
Yeah. Was that like the Reaper Bones minis quality?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They weren't that great, but
were they cheaper or were they the same price?
They were cheaper.
Okay.
Like a squad, like building a 10-man Terminator squad, that was gonna in the metal was gonna cost you like $110.
No.
Because you had a base squad, and then if you wanted special weapons, they were on another Terminator kit in a blister pack, and the blister pack was like 20.
Dang.
Yeah.
Added some eBay finds in my retired from games collection of Necrons. Found a guy on eBay selling 20 unpainted Chaos androids.
Yes, they were originally Chaos androids. The first official Necron models, they were Chaos androids. And then in 3rd edition is when they wrote in Necrons and Tau. That's when Tau and Necrons hit the table.
Dog Dad, what year was that? I was distracted. 1998, you said, is when they started switching to plastic?
Yeah, like 98 or 99.
98, they fully had switched over to what we now, a version of what we now have as the gray plastic. I know for a fact in 2007, because that's when I bought my first ones, and they were gray plastic. And then Bill was saying they did some white plastic, like the Reaper Bones minis, but that was short-lived and not good quality. Yep. Never occurred to me, but I'm sure.
No, and actually, if you Kill Team Jeremy, he once in a while will bring in his original stuff from Rogue Trader, and the first plastic Marines from Rogue Trader, he still has them on sprue. This was in This was made in like 1987.
Yeah, those.
And those models look nothing like the current Space Marine models.
Who here is a heretic? Yes. Orcs. Works all the way. 46 Chaos Androids, all painted in my signature color scheme. Heck yeah.
Nice.
There's a lot of heretics around here. You want to kind of move on. We've got a few minutes left here. Is there anything in 10th edition, aside from being a little more beginner-friendly in general, that you're looking forward to so far? We're kind of all over the place.
Well,
you want to talk about
it's not so much I'm looking forward to, it's just the way the game is switching, so I have to relearn how to play. Yeah. This is why I've actually stopped. There's been about a half a dozen folks that are like, I want to learn how to play. I heard you teach people. I'm like, I usually do, but the new edition's coming out in a few weeks, and if I teach you how to play now, in a few weeks, it's not going to matter, because it's a completely different way of playing.
That's a bummer.
So, come back. Because you're going to have to relearn or unlearn what you learned and learn a new way to play. Because so movement is roughly the same. The command phase is roughly the same. Shooting is the same. The only difference in shooting is the new weapon profiles like sustained hits, devastating wounds, or precision weapons, or anti-weapons. So some of that stuff has changed. Psychic phase is gone. No more psychic phase. So you use the psychic power in the relevant time frame. So if it's a psychic power that increases your movement, you roll to cast it in your movement phase. If it is a damaging psychic power, it's actually in your weapon profiles on your sheet, and you cast that instead of shooting a weapon.
Okay.
How often do new editions drop? Ooh. So roughly every 3 years. Are Grey Knights nerfed? Not really. Grey Knights are going to be interesting to play because now they can just teleport all over the board. It's insane. If they're not in engagement range, they can just go boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
When do you think it's going to go digital VR? VR, I don't know about. I do know that we have my friend group up here. We have friends scattered all throughout the U.S. and Europe. Some of my friend group did teach one of my friends in North Carolina how to play Warhammer via
Tabletop Simulator.
Tabletop Simulator.
Tabletop Simulator. The problem with that is the people who create the mods to use GW models are not the actual people who run Tabletop Simulator because they get hit with ceases and desists all the time.
Yes. And the caveat to that being that it was probably quite a pain to get that set up because Tabletop Simulator's not super friendly. Logical changes, it sounds like. That's
some of the changes are logical. In charging is completely different, and your pile-in movement is different. Your after combat pile-in movement is different. So it's what people used to do. Like, let's say.
What do you do? All right.
Here are your Space Marines, and here are the Orcs.
Perfect.
And they're 7 inches apart. But the Space Marines aren't sitting on the objective. The objective is my pinky, right? So what the Orc player would do is they'll roll their charge of 2d6. If they're 6 inches apart, you need a 5. But dude rolls a 9, runs past the Space Marines to get on the objective, but stops in base-to-base contact. Can't do that anymore.
Okay.
You have to go immediate into base-to-base. And then in your 3-inch pile-in, move around. Because people were slingshotting to capture, to do both things.
Okay. Hold on, cut off your pinky.
Too small. It's just too small.
Try to teach someone how to play Warhammer once and only once. By the end of, they flat out gave up trying to play and got so annoyed they sold me their army. That happens pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Some people just don't. I tell new people all the time, if you haven't played before, pick a faction, go to the wiki pages, read about that faction, read some of their novels, read how they play on Goonhammer, buy the combat patrols now. Now they're making it simple. Combat Patrol is a mode of playing now where you're only playing what's in that box on a small map.
Which is pretty cool that they've set that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even if you don't technically buy the Combat Patrol box, but you have all of the models that are in that Combat Patrol, then you can still play a Combat Patrol mission. Like, I happen to have multiple Combat Patrol boxes that I could run from my armies just because of all the nonsense that I've bought.
Right. One thing that I would, I don't know about suggest, but I'll give some perspective on how I've come at it. Between our friend Mallow and what I've bought in the past, and I'm ordering the Orc Commandos. I've yet to play Warhammer, but I have, what would you say, almost 2,000 points worth of Orcs.
You're getting close, yeah.
Getting close. A lot of them aren't painted. Even if I don't play the game, end up liking it or play it, and some people will do this, and some people, they're like, that's not my jam.
Yeah.
I'm buying them to assemble them and use them for art.
Yeah.
Even if I don't play with them.
They're purists who are pure hobbyists who will never play the game.
Even if I don't get to play the game, I still
just make dioramas and
these
paint
cool
minis.
Art figures that I've made. Some people, that's not their thing, and I completely understand. One size does not fit all. But it may help to look at it that way. I like building Gundam models. I don't get to play any game with the Gundam models, but, they're cool.
Yeah.
So maybe if it helps to shift your perspective on that, like even if you don't end up liking the game, you still have them. And figures, you can always sell them. There's always a meta chase.
Yeah. There's always a meta chase. There's always people looking for stuff.
You won't get your money back fully for them.
No.
But, it's
the only time you're going to get your money back is if you put together and painted a freaking Titan.
Yep.
And, like, you're talking Warhound Titan, you're talking, like, that's a $2,300 investment.
Yep. Someone in TikTok chat, I love Gunpla, but I don't care about Gundam anime much. Same.
Yeah.
I cannot watch the anime. It's just not for me, but the models are great. Love them for art.
So, speaking of Forge World and resin, one of the Horus Heresy's best night kits that was resin, during the drop of the same day that they did the drop for 10th, they previewed this model in pure plastic, thus reinforcing the rumors that I hear of maybe in a few years we will see 100% plastic Titan kits.
Well, they did start the recycling initiative a few months ago, so
Forge World, they're revamping the way Forge World is. There's still going to be things that are resin in Forge World because it looks great, right? It just looks nice. How do I know how many points my army is? I just have a Combat Patrol. Good question, Dog Dad.
It's always a good question.
The points are going to change when 10th edition releases, but the box that is a Combat Patrol, you will be able to play everything in that box against somebody else's Combat Patrol box. That is a new way of playing in 10th edition, and it's roughly the same rule set from what I'm reading. It's just on a smaller scale. It's roughly, most of the Combat Patrols so far in 9th edition points have been about 500.
Sounds about right. There's also, not to add complexity to it, but if you do end up finding some people that you have the Combat Patrol box, great.
Silent Kevin, I have that same issue. I literally am unable to use a majority of my stuff. I just cycle through things. I buy kits because I think they're cool and I want to put together and paint them, but they are dog shit on the table. Absolute dog shit.
We have a subset of people, I think it's mostly my friend group, that don't play points, they play power level, which is, I think, a little easier to keep track of if you have it on Battle Scribe. You can build out your army. And we have a rule where it's like, if your character has a flamethrower, if that one guy does, but you don't have a flamethrower in your Battle Scribe, it's fine. Thank you for subscribing, Wildling. But yeah, any more words?
It's going to be interesting. There's going to be a learning curve for everybody. Once the learning curve, I'm going to say probably We'll spend the rest of the month of July figuring stuff out. There'll probably be a FAQ at the end of July because they're releasing this right before a big LVO. Okay. And they're making people play 10th edition for the LVO.
Do I have to buy a codex or can I just bootleg it? Are they still doing free codexes?
So this is a point of contention. They said day one of 10th edition, all the rules, including your army's rules for all armies, will be free online. And then they started talking about codexes again. But also in that stream, they were like, physical codexes are going the way of the dodo. The only thing that you're going to have are, you can buy data cards to track your stuff so you have something physically in front of you.
Yep.
Because all the information that a unit can do is going to be in that data card. Dog Dad, you can play here without painting. We don't give a shit here. Like most of my stuff's not
painted. Yeah. Official Games Workshop stuff and tournaments, yes, it has to be painted. No one here cares. No one here cares.
So what they're talking about is these new codexes are going to be digital only. Right? It's just going to be an updated rule set for your army plus new lore in the book.
I think that's a good move.
Because it legit, like, if they put out a codex, and they did this in 8th edition, if you bought your codex through their EPUB store, through Apple, if there was a point adjustment or a FAQ update to your codex, they updated your codex. And the next time you plugged into the internet with whatever you're using that EPUB on, it got updated.
Yeah.
And
well, then you have situations like Botan, where 3 days after they came out, they were like, update. What would happen if that was physical only?
Right. It is getting harder and harder to track because the campaign books, you'll have your armies of renown or specialty armies that you can put together. And they'll have campaign books with updated rules for certain aspects of certain pieces of armies. So it's like now you have to have your core rule book, your codex faction, your sub-codex faction book, and then this other one book, and then this book, and then the advanced data slate. And it's just like they're hearing their people.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if the codexes, when they do come out, the new digital codexes, if they're going to be free or not. They say it's free. I'm seeing things that it's not. In my opinion, the way that they're wording it, it doesn't seem like it's going to be free.
Index hammer. Well, I hope it is. I think it'd be a smart move.
It would be a smart move because all you need is a tablet.
Yep. I don't ever hear complaints about buying models, but I do always hear complaints about buying the books.
Right. Especially since they finished their codex drive with Imperial Guard and World Eaters. And then 6 months later, they announced the new edition.
Yep.
And everybody's like, I just spent $50 on a book that's going to be out of date.
Yep.
In 6 months. FUGW.
I honestly,
which I get.
I like that it's free, but I really do think that GW should just buy Battlescribe.
I mean, they should have hired those guys from Battlescribe. They really should. And according to Games Workshop, they're redoing the Army Builder app to have everything in it completely unlocked for free and always for free.
Cool.
To build armies. I mean, I'm not sure how well it's going to run. I mean, the only reason I pay for Warhammer Plus, like, I don't even watch the animation on Warhammer Plus. I'm in it for the free freaking specialty minis that you can get at the end of every year. So I'm paying $50 a year for 2 minis.
At least they're not trying to pull a WotC. My job is reading YouTube comments, and quite a few comments for the WotC boycotts. People are like, "Don't play GW; they're just as bad." I'm like, "They're not having as bad of a year as Hasbro."
Well, no. The whole reason that some of the biggest YouTube creators of third-party content for Games Workshop got tricked by Games Workshop into signing a non-compete clause for 3 years, preventing them from making any Warhammer content and taking down their current Warhammer library.
Ooh. If someone told me I had to paint my models before I could play them, I would just spray paint them. Yes. And Dog Dad, I think we've covered this before, but we have lots of different colored primers, and you can get different color primers. And then you know what you can do? You can do a zenithal highlight, as it's called, gray, whatever, light color, from the top, and just that way you have some lighting, and you're good. You don't have to feel bad about them not being painted. They don't look just plain gray. They look pretty cool still. So yeah.
So no, what GW did was, it's like one of the greatest shorts ever made was a guy by himself made a series called Astartes that had almost no voice acting in it, and the digital animation and the sound quality were just like close to Pixar level, and it's a guy. So what GW did before they started Warhammer Plus is they went to all these YouTube creators who were making their own animated shorts, right, and said, hey, we want to hire you guys. Come do this group intern program, and then we will pick the creme de la creme to work for us, which they technically did, but they were not forthcoming about the wording of the contract that they signed to be interns, which was a 3-year NDA from making any Warhammer content, even if they didn't get hired.
Yeah, the word intern bothers me there.
Yeah, so they hired the guy. They actually legit hired the guy that did Astartes, but he was like, according to my contract, I have to take all my content down. But people copied it, and you can still go watch it. It's freaking phenomenal. And actually, it is on Warhammer Plus, and where he left off, he picked up.
Yeah. Somebody said, so a combat patrol box is what I need to get started. You can do that, or you can do what we have a lot of people doing if you want to get into Kill Team. Kill Team will be cheap.
Kill Team is squad-based. You can either buy one of the Kill Teams, and it says Kill Team across the top, because there are Kill Team boxes that are not part of what you... I mean, you can field... Technically, you can field everything on the board in 10th edition. Like, they're showing you the rules for it.
The boxes are orange.
The boxes are orange. They sell Kill Team. Like, I love the Arbites. I think the Arbites used to be a playable army. The Arbites are basically cops. And they all kind of, like, had a Judge Dredd-esque feel about them in early 40K. And they made a new kit for them. And basically, you could run an Arbites army, and for your vehicles and your tanks, you just use freaking the Guard stuff, but painted Arbites colors.
Kill Team works for bigger 40K teams? No, Kill Team is one squad.
One squad.
So you only have to buy one box, a Kill Team box, Commandos, and then instead of going, correct me if I'm wrong, instead of going squad turn, it's one mini's turn, other mini's turn, other mini's turn.
Right.
It's more of like recon, whatever, like recon missions. I'll say that.
So with most factions, the now associated Kill Team, you can run that Kill Team on the board in 40K sometimes, or most of the time.
Sometimes.
There are certain things you can and cannot have, so it's meant to be a game apart.
From a newbie's perspective, from what Magic Chat has told me, Shane, you wouldn't have to buy another Kill Team box. You can run what's called Compendium, and it takes some cross-referencing, but you can build a little Kill Team squad with what you have.
So like I can throw together 2 different Astartes Kill Teams with what I own using the Compendium rules, and it didn't come from any of the Kill Team boxes. Yeah. So like if you already have an army, or you have say 10 or 5 intercessors, Space Marine intercessors assembled, you can use those as a 5-man Kill Team, according to the Compendium.
Well, in the shop every Thursday starting
there's
tomorrow,
Jeremy.
And I'm more than willing to teach him one. Thank you, Jeremy. Heck yeah. Again, got people here who are eager to teach and
Yeah, Jeremy, I was telling people about the stuff that you have from the 80s and the sprues of the original Rogue Trader Space Marines that you still have on sprue.
Oh, is that? Yeah. Well, I think we're both just about beat from stream. So
I gotta go prepare.
Yeah.
Because today we're working with the city of Mukilteo at their event center to run some games for kids.
Oh, shorts.
So we're gonna go do that today and see how well that goes, and hopefully that turns into a more regular thing, so we can Get them kids, hook them early.
Yeah,
I tell parents all the time, you don't want your kids to do drugs, get them hooked on Warhammer and Magic the Gathering. Then they won't have money for drugs. From my ears to God's mouth, or whatever.
I'm typing in now to the person in TikTok chat who asked, what shop? Gamers Heaven PNW. And you can visit us at gamersheavenpnw.com and boop, I just put it in the chat. There you go. We're in Lynnwood, Washington. Community Day this Saturday.
Community Day this Saturday, all day. We will start we'll start doing the raffle about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Like I said, one of the big ones is an entire set of the new Masters of the Universe board game, the main box, and all 3 expansions. So every $10 gets you a ticket, or you can buy raffle tickets for $5 a piece.
Yep. We gotta go let Taylor in.
Oh, she's open.
Yeah, she's been out there.
What?
We went long.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
thank you all.
Goodbye, everybody.
Appreciate you. We'll see you later. So long. See you Monday. Bye. Da 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 da. End of stream song. Da 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 da. End of stream song. Ba 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 ba. End of stream
So I told
song.
that stupid teaching lady I only need to know 3 letters: U, S, and A.
Thanks, everyone. Love you. Bye.